We live in an age obsessed with complexity. More plot twists, more lore, more timelines, more explanations. Stories today often feel like puzzles that need to be solved rather than experiences meant to be felt. And somewhere along the way, we start believing that complex automatically means deep. But history and human psychology tell us the opposite. The most powerful stories ever told were painfully simple, and that's exactly why they worked. Think about the stories that have stayed with humanity for centuries. Ramayana, Mahabharat, biblical parables, fairy tales passed down orally long before books even existed. On the surface, they are almost embarrassingly straightforward. A man goes on a journey, a family is torn apart, a kingdom rises and falls, good versus evil, love is lost, honor is tested. No convoluted timelines, no five parallel universes, no encyclopedic backstories. Yet these stories shaped civilizations. Why? Because humans are not wired to remember complexity. We're wired to remember meaning. A simple story is not an empty story, it's a focused story. And when a narrative is simple, your brain doesn't waste energy decoding the plot. Instead, it shifts its attention to what actually matters: emotions, values, and human behavior. You don't remember stories because they were clever. You remember them because they made you feel something: fear, hope, loss, courage, love. These emotions don't require complexity, they require clarity. Take a story like Rocky. On paper, it's as basic as it gets. An underdog boxer gets a once in a lifetime shot. He trains, he struggles, he loses, but earns self respect. That's it. No twist villain, no secret lineage, no hidden mastermind. And yet, decades later, people still feel goosebumps watching him run up those stairs. Why? Because the story wasn't about boxing, it was about dignity, self worth, proving something to yourself. Simple plot, universal truth. Now compare that to many modern stories that try to be smart. They drown the audience in lore, they over explain motivations, they keep twisting the plot just to surprise you. At first, it feels impressive, but once the surprise fades, there's nothing left to hold on to. You don't walk away changed, you walk away confused. A story that needs a YouTube explainer to make sense is not deep, it's insecure. Simple stories work because they mirror how humans actually experience life. Life itself isn't complex in structure, it's complex in emotion. We don't experience life as a perfectly connected narrative with foreshadowing and callbacks. We experience loss, failure, small victories, moments of silence, moments of fear. Simple stories respect that. They don't distract you with noise, they sit with the emotions. That's why children's stories are often more profound than the adult ones. A child's story will tell you: be kind, be brave, don't lie, don't abandon those who trust you. An adult story will spend 2 hours trying to prove it's morally ambiguous. But at the end of the day, clarity hits harder than cleverness. Even in cinema, look at the most beloved characters: Forrest Gump, Shinchan, John Wick, Jack Reacher. They're not complex personalities, they're consistent ones. They follow a code, they react honestly, they don't overthink. And that makes them feel real. There's another uncomfortable truth. Complexity is often used to hide a lack of substance. A story has nothing meaningful to say, it compensates by being complicated. More characters, more subplots, more chaos. But complexity without purpose doesn't deepen a story, it dilutes it. A simple story forces the writer to confront the core question: what am I actually trying to say? And that's a terrifying question to answer. Simple stories also invite the audience in. They don't make you feel stupid, they don't test your memory, they don't demand homework. They trust you. They allow you to project your own experiences onto the narrative. That's why two people can watch the same simple story and take away completely different meanings. The story becomes a mirror. This is why when people say nothing really happens in this movie, they're often missing the point. Sometimes nothing happening is the point, because life itself is mostly quiet moments stitched together by meaning, not spectacle. In a world that's constantly overstimulated, simplicity feels radical. A story that slows down, a character who speaks less, a plot that breathes. It feels honest, and honesty is rare. So, no, simple stories are not childish, they are not lazy, they are not shallow, they are brave. Because simplicity leaves nowhere to hide. If the emotion doesn't land, the story fails. If the characters don't feel real, the story collapses. And when it works, it stays with you for life. That's why long after we forget the twist, the timeline, the lore, we remember how a story made us feel. And that's the only thing that ever mattered.